Does this sound familiar to you? You've gone on a date, you meet this guy, you get on really well, things are going well on the date, and you think, great, finally you've met the guy that you have a potential with, a potential relationship and a potential future with. So you end the date, it's all gone well, you exchange your numbers, all this kind of thing. You go home and you feel really good that finally, this excitement of this really wonderful person. And then the next day you don't hear anything from him. Nothing. And you wonder, okay, maybe you'll send a message like, it was really nice to meet you. It'd be really nice to, see you again sometimes. And, you might get a response back that says, yeah, me too. Yeah, we should definitely meet up. And then crickets. Nothing else. And you wonder, what has gone wrong? Why is he not messaging you back? And you think, okay, fair enough, maybe he's at work and things are getting busy and, you're like, okay, let's not get too crazy out of hand here, let the day go by and see what happens later on, and then lunchtime comes and no message, and dinner time comes and no message, and you're like getting a bit frustrated, but at the same time thinking it's not quite the right time to sort of be pushy. And if you send him a message again, you've already sent him a message earlier that day, so what do? And you think, okay, well, you'll just wait. Maybe it was just one of those days for him and fair enough. And then the next day, pretty much the same thing, except this time you decide you're not going to send a message. You don't want to seem desperate. And you wonder, because now by day 2, day 3, just not very much of a response at all. And you think, another one of these jerks that you had a really good connection, it felt really good, it felt really natural, and then there's just nothing. Nothing happens. You feel like you've wasted your time again and got your hopes up and thinking, great, now you get to do it all over again. The problem with this is that you are creating all of it. All of these situations are an extension of what you've got going on inside of you. And what that means is that the state of being that you're in, and you would have practiced this from your relationships before, your dating before, so it would have been belief patterns that would build up from this. So you've gained evidence that suggests that, there's so many of these jerks around, and you keep wasting your time, and you're just getting frustrated with the whole process, that it puts a belief system into your mind that says most of the guys are jerks. And that kind of a belief pattern or a thought in the beginning then starts gaining momentum and becomes a belief. So when you constantly meet these kind of guys where you feel like, great, there's a great connection, and there would have been, you're not making that up. There would have been an amazing connection. You got on really well. You have a similar sense of humor. And then he pulls away, he's just gone. And you think, what the heck? What's happened? What's gone wrong? And these are things that are reflecting your state of being. So what that looks like is thoughts that you would have been thinking from your previous breakups, from your previous dating experiences, that has now started building up a belief that says that going on these dates is a waste of time. Most of these guys, or all of these guys, are jerks. They end up ghosting me anyway. I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or whatever other belief that you then have about yourself is what then projects out onto your date. So it's almost like it was fated to go that way from the very beginning, because that's where your state of mind was from the beginning. And while that's not something that has to stay that way, often we're not conscious, we're not aware that this is what we've got going on. So all we get to respond to is this sort of evidence of what we've got going on inside of us. And then you think it's happening to me. But it's actually, you are creating this. Not on purpose, absolutely not on purpose, but you are creating that. And while that might sound really frustrating, it's not a blame game either. It's not your fault, because there's no fault here. It is feedback. So it's the feedback of what you've got going on inside of you. So that's what the story is telling you, is that you've got a story, you have a belief system, you've got this point of attraction that is saying that guys are jerks. They don't phone back. They're not interested in a long-term relationship. I keep finding these jerks. I keep finding these guys that seem really nice and then disappear off. Like that is the story that you've got going on in the back of your head. And because you've had those thoughts over and over and over again, that these thoughts have become habitual. So it's almost like you may be just about aware of it. So when you see, say on the dating app, you see this guy messaging you, you get on really well, and this little story will pop up in the back of your mind to say, oh, is he going to be a jerk? Or this had better prove me wrong. Like he had better prove me wrong. And this is the habitual stuff that we've been taught by our media at large, or, the dating advice at large, that suggests that they need to be different. And while that is true to a certain degree, it is an expression of you. It is an extension of you. So your thoughts and belief patterns, and obviously the thoughts create emotions. So your emotional state about this, the sort of mistrusting, the sort of half belief, this almost the expectancy that it's going to go down the same route, but you're hoping that it's going to be different. So when it then does happen, you're almost not surprised. You're disappointed that it's proved you right, but you're almost not surprised. And it's that loop that keeps perpetuating. That's why you keep finding yourself in these situations that you're expecting this to kind of go wrong. It'd be great if they prove me wrong, that sort of story. But I think this is what always happens to me. Like those beliefs, those thoughts is what's going to start creating those experiences coming into your life. So when you want to turn this around, you're going to have to check, what do I believe about myself in this dating experience? So if you start on the dating app, or if you go on a date, you're planning a date, what do you want to have happen? So it's not this sort of like, oh yeah, I really want it to be great, and I really want us to hit off. Like, yes, that and what? Because when you have an expectation that things will kind of be like, nah, then they probably will. You're probably going to have that kind of an experience. And of course, sometimes you go on a date, it goes really well, and you actually hit off, and it does go from there. But the insecurity that you would have about, and these are normally subconscious, can I just add that as well? So it's not something that you'd be consciously doing. It would be the little story underneath that says, I never get the guy, or he never ends up sticking around for me, or they don't treat me well, or there's always somebody better. It's just a matter of time before he figures it out. So you have these belief systems and these stories quite deeply ingrained, and you kind of have to become aware of them. And how you do that is by being really honest with yourself and sitting down and writing. I find writing is one of these tools that gives you the truth. So it's not the story that you want to tell, it's the truth of your heart. And it's the truth of your heart that you need to go to start figuring out what is going on for you. What do you believe about love? And it's normally the first responses that come. So if you were to sit down and be like, what do I believe about love? Do I believe that I deserve love? Do I believe that the love that I want is available to me? Or is it just something out there somewhere that, if somebody can see past all these big and glaring faults that I have, then maybe there's a possibility. Because that kind of thinking puts the power onto somebody else. And that's not true. The power is within you. And that means that you need to look at, what are you creating? And you are creating by the beliefs. You're creating by the thoughts that you have. So when you start investigating, be like, what thoughts do I have? What do I believe about myself, my ability to have love, to receive love, to give love and to have a mutually respectable, loving experience with your partner. Because sometimes we can't accept the love and we find it really weird to be loved on. And it's that kind of thing, like, how do you receive love? How do you give love? Do you believe that it is possible for you? And that's going to give you the answer. That's going to give you the answer of what is going on. And oftentimes, once you start making light of what is going on for you, subconsciously, you start changing the story. Because if you discover that your subconscious story is that love is unsafe, then you're not going to accept the loving experience into your life, because your subconscious is never going to allow you to be unsafe. So it'll create the situation around you for that not to even go there, because it's going to keep you safe. So that's what I want to invite you to do, is to actually start exploring into what is it that your subconscious mind is whispering to you on those occasions when you can hear it, or when you actually dive into it by journaling or by voice noting, just letting this stuff come out. Because when you go into your headspace and you think logically, what makes logical sense, that's not the truth. That is not the truth of your heart or your subconscious mind. It's the story that you believe you should be telling. It's not the truth of your actual story. So let me know in the comments below if this resonates, if there's any questions that you have about this, or if there's any other things specifically that you want to cover, and I can cover them in the next video. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you then.